Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. I am ecstatic because I've been waiting, 16, 18 weeks to sit down and chat with Michelle. I've been dying to since the very beginning. So, welcome to the podcast and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's so crazy for me as an interviewer, and I'm sure for you as a guest, to have this experience of watching you on screen and feeling like we kind of know who you are, but simultaneously, there's so much more to you, I'm sure.
Right, yeah, it's even, like, watching it back, I'm like, "Oh my god, I said those things," but then I'm also like, "Okay, like, I did say all of those things, but a lot is left out as well."
There's so many questions that I have that viewers have. I tried to do my homework. And so I started by watching your recent interview that you did sitting next to Alan on the What's the Reality podcast. First
Yeah,
of all, shout out AD, shout out your outfit, shout out everything.
that was
So
really fun. I
you
also
did
love how
amazing.
Alan and I have become, like, a pair now.
I wasn't going to say anything, but like, I think there's a sect of us of Married at First Sight that we're sort of hoping respectfully to Ellen's girlfriend that you
Right,
two would become an actual pair. But it
right.
is really rewarding to see the two of you be
Yeah,
friends and be
right.
together.
His girlfriend is wonderful, I've met her several times, so love her.
Is Alan in San Diego? Can we get that tea really quick? Did he move away from Chicago?
No, I think a lot of those photos were from when we filmed, What's the Reality because we were in LA, and they extended their stay a little bit.
Okay, love that. I was super
Yeah.
curious.
He just bought a house not too long ago in Chicago, so I would be shocked if he's already moving.
Well, let me update my reporting skills because I was like, so Alan did buy a house in San Diego, and you're like, oh, I'll report on anything.
Well, that would be news to me if he did.
Everybody. Thank you for the tea. I'm going to make this all about you, though. I have so much that I'm dying to know. Before we get into your tumultuous experience on Married at First Sight, I want to learn about you.
Mhm.
So, I want to know because I'm a reality TV podcast, were you a fan of reality TV prior?
Yes, I am definitely a Bravo girl. I had watched some Married at First Sight. I watched the first season of Chicago, obviously a long time ago. I actually went to college with Ashley's sister, so that was like a tie. But yeah, I would say I'm definitely more of a Bravo girly.
So, let's hit this. Whose season do you think was more tumultuous? Your season of Chicago or the other season of
Oh,
Chicago?
I mean ours. I feel like ours was insane.
Uh-huh. And so let's comment on the fact that, first of all, you look gorgeous. Your makeup is stunning.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And as somebody who doesn't know much about makeup, I wanted to know if you have to get presentable, whether you're going out on a date or an interview, and you can only use three products, what are you using?
I have like horrible skin, like eczema out the wazoo. So a
Okay.
moisturizer to me is I have to have that. Mascara is obviously a go-to. And then I would probably have to do like some sort of moisturizer chapstick for my lips as well, just because I know I would look like a raisin if not.
I'm doing check, check, and check in my head because those are the exact three things that I was able
Yes.
to figure out prior to this interview. I've been dying to hear about that, so thank you for engaging me in that. Viewers, take note. Those are the three things that you need.
Yep. Those are my go-tos.
One thing also that we learned was that you were single 6 years prior to the experience. I want to know, what was your priority during that time? Was it self-growth? Was it your career?
I wouldn't say I was single. I
Okay.
think I answered that question thinking like big like relationships. Like, I definitely had was like dating. I probably was talking to someone for like a year on and off. So I had like a lot of situationships in that time. I think people said when I was like single for 7 years, they like thought I was sitting at home knitting. I definitely had relationships during that period, but in my mind, when they asked me that question, I was thinking, um, like big relationships, we were going on vacations together, we were meeting each other's families, like living together. Like in my mind, that's how I answered that. So I definitely wasn't like single for 7 years. I was definitely dating people on and off during that time, but I mean, yeah, I was focusing on like I have made like a really good group of girlfriends here in Chicago. I switched jobs during that time. So I mean, I There were other things going on, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was focused on anything. I think I was just, like, living my life, and, I'm someone who if someone doesn't, like, bring a lot to the table, I don't waste my time on it. So, like, I'll go on a couple dates and then be like, "Yeah, that was cool. See you never," and move it along, so
I love all of that because you know what? There really doesn't have to be like this all or nothing response. I thank you for clarifying, by the way, because it did kind of make it seem like you were like very recluse, knitting
Right,
it up potentially, you know.
right. I
But
know
there's
even I
nothing wrong
looked
with
at it, I was like,
that.
"Oh, I look like a loser. What's wrong?"
Well, so what made me curious about that is I was wondering because what was your longest relationship? Like, were you dating and open to still finding a life partner, or was it just more so dating for fun at that time, casually?
Yeah, so I've dated a few people probably for like 3 years, and those were very serious relationships, and that I think I had like 3 in my past, and we've dated for like 3 to 4 years, I would say. And then the past 6 years, I was probably like the longest one was probably like a year, but again, it didn't feel like I didn't feel secure in that relationship, like, it was definitely something that we're, like, on and off a lot. We weren't a good match, but it was, like, one of those things where I'm like, "But maybe it'll work," and you just, like, linger for way too long, and then finally there comes a point you're like, "Okay, I gotta move it along."
Completely understand. So it's not as if you were taking 6 years off and like completely rusty out of the dating game. You were still familiar.
Right.
Okay, good. So then that kind of eliminates one of the questions that I had. So moving it along, the next thing I wanted to know and at least acknowledge is viewers like myself, I'll include myself, we do have a habit of projecting our perception onto the contestants and sort of telling you guys who you are based off of how we perceive you. So I'm wondering, how have you protected yourself from our projections?
Yeah. It's really hard because even I know my reality, but when everyone is coming it's hard not to read the comments, truly,
Mhm.
and even, like, people are, like, sliding into your DMs, like, saying horrible things, and so you're like, Don't read that stuff," but I, like, could not. It's like, that's how at least
Uh-huh.
I was. I'm like, "I wanna kinda know," and then so when everyone's coming at you with the same thing, being like, "You have childhood trauma," like, "You need therapy," it started to make me question my own reality, because then I was like, do I have childhood trauma? Like, could they specify what exactly my childhood trauma is? Like, I mean, I know we all have childhood trauma, but I was like, what exactly? Like, everyone seems to be in agreement on this. Like, I wish they could specify a little bit. So, yeah, it's hard to read that stuff, but I do think I have pretty thick skin. Like, sometimes I would like, like, be like, okay, that's funny, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you just like have to like laugh about some of that. Also, I have to remember, like, these people are, like, hiding behind a screen saying these things, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like people are coming up to me on the street being like, "Here, see you next Tuesday."
Right, right. I feel like one thing that I kind of had the realization of is that we get wrapped up as viewers, but there was a point where I was like, you know what? Despite the perception that I really can have of people, it is it has to be painful to be the person who has experiences. Like, we're just basically glossing over some of the most painful moments of your life that you've ever had that we have not been privy to and acting like they don't exist. And like you just are this person based off of your 8 week experience. And I just
And you're
wanted
not
to
even
acknowledge.
seeing the full picture of the 8 weeks. I mean, you're seeing, like, even a snippet of that, and you're seeing a snippet of what production wants you to see. There's so much eliminated that I think if you saw even the full 8-week picture, it would give you a different perspective on probably everybody.
That gives me a great transition because I wanted to let this be the point. If people make it 10 minutes into this episode, which is about where we're at, and then they stop listening, what's something that you want everyone to know about you that you either feel like Married at First Sight got wrong or just did not portray?
Yeah, I think that I don't think I got a bad edit because I can't deny like the things I did and said. I just think a lot of stuff was eliminated to fit a narrative so that it worked with the narrative. Like I think people think I just like clocked in to film and then disappeared and that I didn't try. Like that doing the 8 weeks was probably one of the hardest things like I've personally done. And so, like it was hurtful to be like, oh, you didn't try at all. But I'm like, I think I tried just as much as David tried. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think either one of us, like, he put on probably a better front than I did, but I'm also someone who, like, can't fake things. Like, I am direct, and so, like, it's hard for me when he's telling me that, like, "I want you to be honest," like, I take that literal, and I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll just say what I'm feeling," and I think that came off pretty harsh.
That makes a lot of sense, all of that. Like, I was wondering if it felt like there was this one-sided pressure that David was the person who was putting in every bit of effort, and you were cast as, like, doing nothing.
I think we both put in the same amount of effort. I just think he like, I remember I said on multiple times, like, "I feel like you're delusional, like you're living in a la la land," because, like, we weren't getting along, and then we'd like, the cameras would come up, and he would just be like, "Everything's great, like, I think it's so attractive when you're honest and you're sexy, like, it's so sexy when you're honest," and to me, I was like, "What is he talking about? Like, we don't get along, like, we don't have anything in common," like, to me, it was like a delusional, and so that was always hard, and so I think, like, he would kind of I don't wanna like, I don't wanna speak for him, but it definitely felt like he was okay with just being like, "Everything's great, like, I woke up, the sky's blue, the sun's out, like, we're gonna have a great day," and I'm being like, "Why was I paired with him?" Like, this felt like such an awesome opportunity, and, like, immediately felt like a disappointment to me, like, I felt like they set us up for failure, and he just, like, didn't see that, so we just were never on the same page about a lot of things.
I wanna know if how he was presenting himself on camera then was different than what you were getting. Like, was this air of positivity, air of, "We can do this, everything's fine," only there when the cameras came out and you guys were behaving completely differently behind the scenes? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say, like, majorly different, I definitely was positive even off camera, but it wasn't as I think we were just, like, normal off camera, like, we did share, like, a couple times where we would, like, hang out off camera, and it didn't feel like as, like we would just have, like, normal conversations, you know what I mean? Just, like, boring conversations, but just, like, normal conversations, so that felt fine, but then I think when the cameras came on, that's when he was, like, extra positive, but I wouldn't say there was, like, a big change off camera versus on camera. I think just, like, on camera, they took out all of the normal conversations and just showed us fighting, but
Trying to make sense of this so that I'm saying what I actually think. Do you think
yeah.
that there's a piece of David that was trying to spare you from your relationship coming across one way on camera, and that was the reason behind his positivity?
I don't think he was trying to I mean, my take on it was that he knew again, this is just my feeling,
Mhm.
he knew that I was going down in flames and I was definitely gonna get a like a bitchier edit, not even an edit, like I was like I recognized I was mean, so it wasn't like it was an edit, but I think he knew that, and so he played into that being extra positive and extra nice,
Mm.
knowing that I couldn't get there, and that would that's what it felt to me, like, I think he had something going on the side, obviously, and so it was easy for him just to be like, "Keep doing what I'm doing, look like this great guy, and then she will go down in flames, and I can ride off into the sunset, and it won't ever be known what actually happened."
Thank you so much for clarifying that. That makes a lot of sense, and I'm going to get back to this when we go further in our episode,
Yep.
to your guys' time on the honeymoon. So, viewers, take note. That's what Michelle would like you to know. Okay. If you don't make it any further, please know that. And before we wrap up, just the basic introduction. As someone from the Midwest who related to you with like a similar economic situation, I've spent a lot of time trying to separate myself from the scarcity mindset that I've had throughout my life, both with money, with resources, stability. And I'm curious if that's something that you have been working with as well. And if you feel like that sort of bled into some of your behaviors that we saw during Married at First Sight.
Yeah, I mean, I come from, like, super humble beginnings. My parents both worked multiple jobs. I'm one of 4 girls. We had a big family. My parents got divorced, I think, when I was 3, so I don't have, like, any memories of them together, but then we also, like, lived next door to each other, so it was, like, kind of like an odd upbringing, but it was also nice because, like, you could go in between houses and, like, I could see my dad whenever I wanted, I could see my mom whenever I wanted, so it was really nice, but because of that, I think that like right away I come from, again, small town. And so I just like wanted more for myself. You know what I mean? And I think right after college, I moved up to Chicago and I kind of never looked back. Like I was like, this is like such a different world than what I know. And I loved it. And so I just like was like, I'm gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like I had that mindset.
Okay, so you feel like it's less of a scarcity mindset and more towards just going after something different and setting up a different life for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. Thank you. Because we may not have a similar experience. And like I said, as a viewer, we project a lot of things onto you guys as cast members, and we find faux relatability to situation. Getting into casting, how did you get into conversation to be on Married at First Sight season 18? Let's talk about feeling good and whatever that means for you. Whether you're looking to improve your health, strengthen your core, improve your flexibility, Better Me Health Coaching is here to help with over 4,000 workouts in the app, ranging from calisthenics, somatic training, wall Pilates. You will find something that works for you with 24/7 personalized training, nutrition guidance, and real progress tracking. You're going to have the support that you need to stay on track and feel better. Join us, over 150 million users, on their journey towards better health. Tap the link in my show notes to get started today. Back to the show.
Yeah, someone slid into my DMs on Instagram and was like, I think you'd be a good fit for the show. And I kind of took it as like a little bit of a joke. Like I remember I screenshotted, I sent it to all my friends. And I was like, oh my God, should I take the call? And everyone was like, do it. Like, what do you have to lose? And at that point, I think I was 37, 38. And so I kind of just took the calls. And the more I kept taking the calls, the more I was like, oh shit, this might actually be happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then even that, I took that as a sign, being like, like they reach out to me, like it's all kind of coming together. Like I should just take this as like a sign, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay. So it just kind of fell into place for you, which
Yeah.
leads me to my next question. Your family and friends, when they met David, one of the things that they described you as was someone who was slow to open up, potentially a little bit guarded at first in relationships. So did you have any reservations about what Married at First Sight expects from participants and then your personality?
Yeah, I definitely, well, I think I came in a little bit naive,
Okay.
first of all. But yes, I definitely am someone who's like warms up to things. Like I would consider myself like an introverted extrovert. And so I I think coming in, I knew it was gonna be hard. I didn't think it was gonna be as hard as it was, but I even like told like I had a dinner with all of my friends who were gonna attend the wedding the night before the wedding. Like we all had dinner on my rooftop. And I remember saying, like, you guys know that like I'm someone also if I hear like a negative thing, like that sticks in my head. And so I was like, I need everyone to like if you at the wedding tomorrow, like if you hear something from like one of his family or friends, just keep it to yourself. Like I don't want to have any judgments. Like I just like want to really try to like come in here with like a clean slate, an open mind, and not have like all these negative things that you guys hear or think or like looking like I like getting your phones like looking them up on social media. Like I didn't want to hear any of that. And just like keep it to yourself. And so everyone was like, yeah, for sure. And I think even this scene where I finally at the wedding where I get to sit down with my friends. I think that was like had the breakdown right before I went to the bathroom. But I remember I was like, I feel like you guys are all lying to me. And like later on, they're like, you said we couldn't say what we thought. Like we had to keep it quiet. I was like, I know. Like, but I think like that was already because I had heard like he'd basically told me so quickly
Hmm.
afterwards, kind of some of the things that he was a little bit concerned about. So
It's interesting that he did the exact opposite of what you asked your friends and family
he
not
like
to
didn't
do.
know that, but
Right. Right. It's not like he knew that, but just like how
right.
things happened to come about. But
Yeah.
we'll hit on that in just a second.
Okay.
I have tons of questions about that, and so I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
When getting into matchmaking a little bit, so we hit on how you were cast, how you came to be on the
Yeah.
show. Was there an initial questionnaire that you were given to communicate what your match was, or was this all directly in person?
Gosh, I know that there were a couple questionnaires, like you even met with like a psychologist on a Zoom, but there were a couple like in-person interviews, a lot of phone interviews. Um, and like lots of Zoom interviews, but I don't remember. I mean, I think there was a questionnaire, but I just like don't honestly, I don't remember. It feels really long ago. But I mean, yeah, there was you talked in depth about what you were looking for.
Okay, so what qualities did you ask the experts for in your
Yeah.
match?
I think I was very open to physical. But I think I was very I was like, I want someone who's driven, kind, confident, successful, like fun, adventurous. Those were kind of things that were important to me.
Okay, it's interesting that you said that you're open physically because of the
Yeah.
conversation that we see. So, what did you actually specify to the experts that you wanted physically in a husband?
Yeah. I don't think I know what was portrayed, like what was said. But I think I also was like open to race, like age. I truly was open. I think I said, like, I think they were like, describe people you've dated in the past. And that's what I did. And they were like, be very specific. But I mean, I've also dated, like, race wasn't an issue for me at all. So I think I said, like, I would date white guys, I've dated black guys. But they're like, well,
Mhm.
be specific. I think that's where what was shown came out.
Okay, so is it fair to say that that was sort of misportrayed in what we saw then?
Well, I think it was misportrayed in the sense that it makes it seem like that's I wanted something so specific.
It did.
And
Yes.
I think that's where it was misportrayed because I did like I said that I've dated people like that in the past, but I think it just made it seem like that was the only thing I wanted, the only people I've ever dated when that's not the case. Like I think if you look back by history, it'd be all over the map.
I really appreciate the clarification because when I heard that, it landed as if that was the only requirement. Physicality, you wanted a
Yeah,
guy who was a light-skinned black man,
right.
and it made there was discourse online surrounding the fetishism
Yeah,
behind that statement. So I appreciate the clarification that it did
yeah,
not go down that way.
right. I think they eliminated all like a lot of what I said and just kept again what fit like to make David work. That's how I feel.
Mm. So do you feel like, with that being said, that the main quality that you two and David were matched based upon was your physical preferences that you had asked for?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was wondering as well, because that's what it seemed like. It seemed like that was
Yeah.
the quality that they
Yeah.
zoned in on the most.
Yeah. I mean, we had the only other things that I think we had in common after getting to know each other is that we liked country music and we both had like social work experience at some point in our lives.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a quality that you wish that you had gotten specifically that you had asked for that was more important to you?
I mean, I think I wish I was more specific on what like I thought drive and success looked like.
Hmm.
But I also think that I was 38 again when I was on the show. And so I just like never assumed in my mind that I would be paired with someone like living at home and I just like didn't think that like it just didn't ever cross my mind and I even but then people will get angry at me with that because they're like Dr. Pia said that but I like I still watch that back and I'm like you see me pushing back being like
Hmm.
oh he lives at home you know what I mean like I don't feel like I was like yeah for sure I'd love a guy that lived at home like I right away was like oh what do you mean like I have to stay at his parents house like I do feel like I wasn't so like, "Yeah, great, I love that." Like, I think she was trying to sell me something she knew that I was not on board with.
Okay, that's interesting because, several other contestants from this season have sort of expressed that it feel like they were kind of led to where the experts felt like they should be matched with, as opposed to kind of listening to the requests that they had actually asked for.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they had David already picked out for me, clearly when
hmm,
they came and did my home visit. Like, they had already it felt like they were already like, "These 2 are gonna be together." Because she was like, "What if he has, like, long hair?" I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "What if they, like, live at home?" And I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about that," and then
what
she
if
kind
they
of
have a keg in their parents' basement?
Yeah, great,
Completely
sign me
different
up.
answer. Right? What if there's no headboard? What if the mattress is
Right.
on the ground? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting because, me and my friends, we did kind of like have a couple jokes like in the group chat where we were like, "Oh my God, what do you have to be so specific? You have to be like, I want a guy who doesn't cheat on me, isn't in my parents' basement." They love to edit a montage on reality dating shows of people who are over specific with their requests, like a
Yeah.
flashback of them talking for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yet, if you don't do that, it almost seems
Yeah.
like a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. And like things that, I said over and over that were never shown. I was very being like, financial security is important to me. I've like worked like hard, like is important to me. And they were like, well, what if, your husband makes less money than you? And I was like, oh, I wouldn't like that, And they're like, well, I was like, I don't even feel like I make so much money that it would be hard for someone to like make more money than me. Like, again, I was so specific. Like, I remember Pastor Cal being like, okay, so you wouldn't want someone that makes less. I'm like, absolutely not. And I like, even like we were dress shopping for my wedding gown, and that was all eliminated as well. And even in that, my sister was like, what if he lives in the suburbs? And I was like, oh God, sick. And then, shoot, and like he didn't live in the suburbs, but
Hmm.
damn near close to it. And like she was like, well, what if like he like makes less than you? And I'm like, no, again, like why does this keep getting brought up? Like again, all of that just like wasn't shown. So I think people think I didn't say those things, but like I said those things multiple times.
So going ahead a little bit in my questionnaire, because this is a perfect segue for me to ask, I guess. Do you believe the experts when they say that you two were not put together for drama then? Because I know you asked at the reunion, and I was like, go ask the thing.
I think we were put together for drama.
Uh-huh.
Like, I just don't see what we have in common, like, truly.
So getting into your wedding day, when
Yeah.
David communicated what's felt like word vomit, like he smokes cigs, lives in the basement, he's got a tattoo of sex, all of those things, giving him a little bit of grace, I guess. What do you think is the reason that he was doing that? Anxiety? Was he trying to be forthcoming?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is he actually told me that he lived at home before. It's like we were walking out the door. So like you get married and then you kind of walk and then you see us like sitting on the couch, like having champagne. So like he told me that like before as we were like walking to sit down. So he said it twice and I was like, no. It was 2 seconds after we walked out the wedding door. He was like, okay, because I was like, so good to meet you. Like, tell me about yourself. Like, what do you do? Where do you live? And then he's like, blah. I was like, ah. So he actually told me even before we see it on camera. But yeah, I think he did that because like watching it back, he said as he was getting ready, like, I'm a little bit nervous that she is gonna like think something of me because I live at home with my parents. And so I think that was just like he was like worried about that. So he was like, I gotta get this off my chest. And here's the thing, like would have my reaction been different if he told me 5 seconds or 2 days later? Like, I don't know if it would have. I think I still would have been like, "Ooh."
Got it. Because I was wondering that. I was wondering, was there a way for David, not necessarily to
Yeah.
get a positive reaction, but like, was there a proper way or
Yeah.
time to
I mean,
really
it would have been
communicate this?
nice just for us to, like, vibe a little bit and get to know each other before that came, but again, like, would my reaction have been different? I don't know, but I think it wouldn't have like, after he told me that at the wedding, like, that's all I thought about, like and I think, like, you don't see this, but, like, I definitely had like, the bathroom meltdown wasn't the only meltdown I had, like, anytime they pulled me to do interviews by myself, like, I would be sobbing, like, I would be gone for, like, 30 minutes because I was crying so hard in the back, and then, like like, "This is my wedding," like, everyone said it was, like, great time, and I spent majority of the time, like, crying in the back room.
Did he follow any of those um things with like a, but I'm financially stable and I'm planning to move out in 6 months?
He just would always be like, "It's a choice." Like, I choose to live, and I think I had a hard time. I still to this day, like, don't necessarily like, I know why, but he would just always be like, "It's the choice I've made, like, it's I don't have to, I just choose to do that." And so
Okay.
I was like, "Okay." And then but we did have later down the road, we had, like, financial conversations. Again, those weren't shown on the show, but, like, we had all those conversations, like, "What do we make? What do we have saved, like where if you bought a house, like where would you want to live?" Like we had all those conversations too, you just they were like cut out.
Did those interests align when you had those
No.
conversations?
And
Okay.
even um I don't want to say he like would exaggerate the truth a lot. So he would be like, I can move out anytime. Like I have enough money saved to buy a two flat. And he would be very specific in like this neighborhood. And I'm like, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, we would talk about how much actually do you have saved? And in my mind, I'm like, those two things don't add up. Like you don't have enough saved to put a deposit down on a two flat in a nice neighborhood in Chicago. Like you just don't. Like, or he would be like, I can rent a place in like this area. And I'm like, I don't think you know what rent costs in that area because you haven't lived in like the actual like city part, like it felt to me. So like those it never like lined up. And like I don't think he was lying. I just like don't know what it was. Like, but they
Maybe it just shows that he didn't really even think that seriously into
yeah.
prioritizing that goal, you
Right. Or like
know?
we even had a discussion like, okay, like when, like, like down the road, like where do you see yourself living? And he would like pick a random suburb. And I'm like, why? Like, why that suburb? And he had like no real reasons around it. I'm like, your family doesn't live there. But like, and then like another week, he'd be like, oh, I want to live in this neighborhood in Chicago. Like, I think he was just like throwing kind of things out there. And to me, I was like, that doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. And so like I kept like all of those like little data points I kept those in the back of my mind. And so like I would be like he's something's like inauthentic about it. I'm like I just like don't, but I think it was because of all those like little tweaks or like things that didn't make sense to me.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying. Did you know that Black women in New Jersey are 7 to 8 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women? Wealth is not a protective factor. In fact, wealthy Black women are still more susceptible to maternal death than their white peers. The Perinatal Health Equity Initiative is fighting to change that through education, advocacy, and support. You can help by visiting their website today at https://givebutter.com/HCOFR5 to learn more and donate. A portion of the proceeds from all positively uncensored content and merch also supports their work. Let's stand together for Black mothers and families. Do so by visiting the link in the description below. Let's get back to the episode. Going to the honeymoon, by the honeymoon, with that being said, how the wedding day started, he can tell that you're, or at least it seems like, he could tell that you were already bothered by his presence, to say the
Yeah.
least, right? But were you communicating why to him?
Yeah. So again, you don't see this, but David and I were actually the first wedding. Like him and I actually, I think we're the last to be shown for TV, but we were actually the first couple to get married. And
Wow.
so when that happens, then so that we had, I think 5 or 6 days that we were isolated, Dave and I, because we were the first wedding. So then the crew has to film the other 4 weddings after us. And so they kind of put you in hotels and you're like not allowed to leave. They don't want you on the phone. Like it's so that. So I had 5 or 6 days after the wedding where I'm stuck in a hotel room by myself and I just sat there and like stewed over what had just happened to me because I was very excited about this and I felt like I got sold like a bad deal. Like I was just like I felt really let down like by the whole situation. And so then I had a whole week to just like be mad about that. So I showed up on the honeymoon only seeing red. Like I was pissed. And again, not his fault. He didn't pair us together, but I mean, he's the one sitting in front of me. So I just like took out all of that rage. And I do think once I got past the honeymoon, I think by that point, like things had like, I'm like, okay, like this is what it is now. Like you got to do it. Like how I felt. So I feel like I got better after the honeymoon, but the honeymoon by far was like the worst period for me.
I have two questions with that. First of all, had you guys been able to spend that time period together leading up to the
No, they
honeymoon?
they don't let you spend time together because they don't want you like they want to film us getting to know each other and because the
Mm.
crew is filming all the other weddings, you're
Oh,
isolated by yourself. Like he was in a hotel in the suburbs, I was
okay.
in a hotel in the city. Like they separate you completely.
Okay.
And they
Do,
don't want you communicating during that because they don't want anything not on
missed.
camera.
Okay. If you'd had that time, if that's something that was
Yeah.
allotted, do you think it would
Yeah,
have made
well,
a difference?
we did see each other one time because you have to go get your actual marriage license.
Mm.
And so I think maybe like a day or two after the wedding ceremony, you go to the courthouse and like make it official. And so I remember even that, like it was like an hour drive to get that. And he's like, and like again, I am like thinking like what just happened? And he's like, are you gonna take my last name? And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Like, can he not sense that I am annoyed by what just happened? He's like, so he's like, are you changing your last name? Like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, but again, like I didn't do a good job of communicating. I was just passively aggressively pissed. He didn't like,
Right.
but you know what I mean? Like I again, like we were just like never aligned.
Okay, completely fair. So by the time you get to the honeymoon, that you guys are hanging out back together.
Yeah.
You've been stewing these last
Yeah.
few days. Okay, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go forward a little and see what I wanted to know next.
And even on the
That's
honeymoon, there was lots of like I think they only showed us fighting on the honeymoon, but I mean we like filmed dinners together every single night. And I think a lot of those dinners like I would be asking all the questions of like getting to know him. And I remember I like, told the producer, I'm like, I feel like if I don't talk in these dinners, like we'd be sitting in silence. And I remember there was like one dinner, again, it wasn't shown, but I was asking all the questions. And then I finally looked at him, I'm like, was there anything like you want to ask me, like get to know me? And he was like, no, like I don't think I'm ready to like do that yet. And I'm like, what? You don't want to ask anything about me? I remember thinking that was so weird. And then the next day is the scene where he worked out with Madison. I think she'd been like, ask her about her family. So like he comes in the room, he's like, tell me about your parents. And I'm like, where did you come up with that? Like, and I think that's what people are like, God, she doesn't want him to get to know her. But like, there were several dinners where it was constantly me just like asking questions and him not responding back to me. And then, of course, they like showed the scene where I'm like, don't ask me about my parents. So it looks like I was like, don't get to know me. But I think it was like if that felt out of left field because the night before I was like, is there anything you want to ask me? He was like, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm like, okay. And then he like comes in hot with, tell me about your childhood.
okay. So to clarify, because David was implying on a recent interview with Denise Brady, the therapist, he sort of
I
implied no
didn't watch
interactions.
it.
You did?
I did
Okay.
not.
Oh, you did not. Okay. I'll clue you in.
Okay.
Basically, he was like, me and Michelle had no interactions with each other except for the ones that were filmed on camera. And
Okay.
with so that's not true, you just said.
No.
Okay. And on top of that, as you're having these dinners, were you authentically trying to get to know him and like try in this experience? Or was
Yes.
it for, just because David may say it's for the cameras? Like, was it for the cameras? Were you genuinely putting an effort?
I mean, I put in effort.
Hmm.
Like I think like I showed up to every single thing, every dinner, every filming. I lived in that apartment, like I went on a honeymoon, like I threatened to quit every 2 seconds, but like yeah, I put in the effort. Like even like getting to know him, like I asked so many questions about him, just like you don't see that stuff because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Do you wish I'm watching a little bit of Married at First Sight Australia and I'm noticing that they're able to like separate from each other and just like get out of the experience? Do you
Yeah.
wish that had been an option?
Like not hang out with the other cast.
Like just like it almost no, like the couple split up almost early in the experience. Like almost
Mhm.
if on wedding day they're not interested, they really do allow them to just walk away from the experience. Would you have been happy to have that opportunity or regret it, do you think?
Okay, so I think they don't have legal marriages over there as well, where ours was like a legal marriage. And
Mm,
so
okay.
in my mind, why I think people are constantly like, why do you walk away? I I knew I was legally married to him. So whether I stay on filming or not, I'm gonna be married to him for what, like 2 years. You know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm like, why would I walk away from filming when I know the end result is I'm still married to him? So to me, it didn't make sense to leave.
Okay, that makes sense. You were committed to the process. It was legitimate. Okay, that adds a lot of
'Cause,
context.
like, even when you're like, "We're getting divorced on decision day," I mean, I'm still married to David currently, so so it's just
That's
like
like that's so
yeah.
jarring. I would never get used to that. Were the experts available on your honeymoon for you to reach out to and if you were struggling?
Yeah, there were a couple instances where my producer would be like, "Do you wanna have a conversation with the experts?" And I would decline it because I was like, "I don't wanna, like, I'll talk to them when I get back," but, like, they're available and they're not. I mean, they're not around a lot, but there was a few times that they would be like, you're having a really hard time. Like, would you want to talk to like us to call you? Do you want to call Pastor Cal or do you want to call Dr. Pia? They would say those things. Yeah.
If there were non-optional regular check-ins weekly, do you think that that could have helped you mentally during this process?
Um, yes, I do. But I also feel like even in the beginning, like it felt like the experts kind of just it felt one-sided to me that they kind of picked apart all the things I was doing wrong and like David was perfect. And I don't know how, but that's just like how it was portrayed to me. So even like sitting in those, like I would be so mad leaving those, being like, I can't be the only one in this. Like I'm not the only one like doing everything wrong here.
It did feel like this season, especially, there was a lot of pressure put on the women specifically in these relationships to try harder when they were seemingly already trying. And I did feel empathy for you as you were consistently replayed the clip of your asks back to yourself, because I feel like that would almost be you're almost gaslighting your own self. Like it's almost like, well, I did say that, but I also said these things. And I know I didn't ask you guys specifically for that. So why are you trying to convince me that I did?
Right.
I think that would be a tough experience. So you hit on Madison and David, and you talked about how she gave him advice. In a typical relationship, is that a boundary for you, having your partner seek advice from another woman on your relationship?
Think so. No. No, like, and I don't even think I thought it was weird. Like when, like for a while, like now once it was like consistently like they were working out, then that kind of I was like, huh. But I don't think I even thought it was weird like that first time. Like he was like, oh, I'm gonna go film working out with Madison. Like I don't, that didn't like register as something that was odd to me.
Okay. See, because even in that, I think that you have more grace than you're given credit for, because my
Yeah.
mind would immediately go to, I think it's inappropriate. Like there's a difference between your friend
Yeah.
that you've known for a long time and then talking to another woman
Mhm.
in this experience to sort of validate that your girl sucks and like she shouldn't be treating you
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And it can't help but feel like that alone was what led to a lot of resentment that
Yeah.
Madison has towards you, has his
Right.
description of you.
But I also thought Madison, and I know I say friend loosely because we had only known each other for a couple days. Like you do grow like a pretty strong bond with the women because they're the only people that know what you're going through, like, are similar situations. And so, like, I like even on the honeymoon, Madison and I spent time together, like, because her and I think felt the most like we were paired in like relationships that didn't like weren't like what we or we were struggling the most in our relationships. And so even when he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna work out with Madison," I was like, "Great!" Like, I hope she gives you good advice because I was still was thinking that she was kind of on my side. Like at that point, like I was like, "Oh, well, she's my friend."
I'm so glad that you hit on that, because another thing that Madison mentioned with her interview with David
Mhm.
was that she said that you and her were not really friends and that she was surprised to hear you guys describe each other as friends because you guys were not in communication. So that's not accurate then, correct?
I mean, I think if we watch it back, there's a couple people who lie a lot. I am not one of those people. But yeah, I would not. There was even like a on the last dinner of the honeymoon, you went around and you said who you were most thankful for on the honeymoon, and she was my answer. I was like, I've really confided in her. Like there was even a part of the honeymoon where we did this scene, which a cut, but like like I like her and David talked and I was talking with Alan and then Madison and I sat down and talked about like how we were struggling and like I was all on camera. Like she was definitely someone who I considered like a friend.
So she was
'Cause I
saving
we would like
face in that,
yeah.
so with that suggestion.
I mean, I can't answer for her, but
Right.
yes.
That's what it feels. I'll say my
Yeah.
opinion. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like to me. I was trying to approach it, open. Like, let me ask Michelle, let me see what she says. But I couldn't help but think, why would you two be forthcoming right
Yeah.
now when you hadn't been
Yeah.
during the entire
And
process?
even like on the yacht on the honeymoon, like her and I were pulled aside on that. So because I was like having to break down on the boat scene, and they're like, "Who do you want to talk to?" I'm like, "I would prefer to talk to Madison." So it was. I mean, were we like best friends? No, but like when you have like a small circle of people who know what you're going through, I would definitely say we were friends during filming.
Do you believe in your heart that they were already connecting on the honeymoon?
I mean, David admits that. Like that's when he says the emotional connection happened. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you believe that it wasn't just as simple as like Madison was declining his advances, just working out as a friend. Like it was, they were mutually connecting with each other.
I think so.
Okay. When you return to Chicago, we notice as viewers that you and David are immediately on opposite schedules.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, was this a conversation that you two had had prior, or was this a surprise to you?
Um, well, he had, I think right before filming began, his job had switched him. I think he originally was first shift and then he got moved to second shift. So he, like, that was pretty new, like his hours had switched. And so yeah, I didn't know that obviously until he told me he worked second shift. So yeah,
Okay.
it's so we didn't see each other a lot during the week because of work schedules. Like I have like a 9 to 5 and he I think was like a 2 to 11 or something.
In a typical relationship, like had you been endeared to David, is it something where that would be able to work with through your partner and you would stay up until 11 p.m. for them to get off? Or is that where you want your partner to be on the same schedule as you?
I mean it's doable, yes.
Okay.
But I think because we were coming from a rocky start, that didn't help us at all.
Absolutely. If you don't
Yeah.
have the foundation to really
Yeah.
get through that, I could see how that would just be a further
Yeah.
hindrance in the relationship.
And then that was the thing, like we would have to film basically all day on the weekends because that was like when our schedules aligned. And so even that was it's like it's not like you're not working during filming. Like I still kept my 9 to 5, like 40 hours plus job. And then on the weekends, I would be filming basically all day. So like I think when people think that I like didn't go out, I was also the oldest female on the cast. And so it's like when we're done filming at 11, I'm tired. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? I'm just like,
I do.
I'm not 20 years old. Like I have to go to the club now at midnight. Get out of here.
I was curious about that because we hear of a couple different occasions where it seems like David went out with the other couples. And I was wondering, were you invited and declined, or were you not invited? What was that situation?
I think it's a mixture of both. Like sometimes I also, like I'm a freelance makeup artist. So like I mainly doing bridal. So there was like a couple weekends where I would have to get up like 5 in the morning to like do makeup for a wedding. So it's like, we get done filming what 10 o'clock and then I have to be up at 5 a.m. Like, no, I'm not going out during that time.
Okay, so fair. So sometimes you were not invited and kind of excluded, and then other times you were invited, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And it makes sense. David's working a different shift than you. He could go out later and then be able to get up
Right.
at 2 p.m. Um,
Yeah.
we saw Alan and Madison have numerous conversations with the experts about how often she was out. Were you and David having similar conversations, or was it too far gone at that point for you to even really care about that particular thing?
I don't think we were having conversations about it, but I mean, there would be times like on the weekends where we would have to film like at 9 in the morning and I would go to bed early and I would hear him come in super late. And then, like he would be like dragging ass hungover as we were filming the next day. There was definitely like, occasions like that where we'd be like, I'm like, oh, like must have been a rough night last night. But I mean, we weren't like talking like in depth about it. It was more just like casual conversations about it.
How did you feel when you saw the side by side footage of Madison and David coming home at the same time?
Mean, that was wild that they did that. Yeah, and like
Wild.
David and I did share separate bedrooms. I
Hmm.
think everyone knew that. But like I was like the bedroom where you could see. And so like even on those days, like I was there because the bedroom door was closed. Like if I wasn't there, like the bedroom door would have been open. So I'm like, oh, I definitely was home like at all of those times as well, which is it was crazy.
Crazy. The tacos comment also really had me shook.
Yeah. Well, that's like even like they kind of like teased in the beginning that there was going to be this wife swap, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like it was hard to put it together. Like it wasn't as easy as it looked like in the edited version. Like it was hard.
I was wondering about that. So, getting into a little bit of the text, okay?
Mhm.
We never got to see your conversation with Denise. So, I want to know, how much did she throw David under the bus? Was she shocked you were calling her? Did it seem like a typical Tuesday for Denise? Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
So I called Denise a couple times.
Mm.
And so when David and I had that initial conversation about the dumplings, the dumpling gate or whatever, I was like, okay, let's call Denise. And so we called Denise on camera during that time too. And she rode hard for him during that conversation. Like she was like, yeah, like if you had a problem, why didn't you ask me? Like she was like, yeah, I was in Chinatown. Like like she rode hard for him that time. And then I think when we had the visit with Pastor Cal and he was like, why don't you call Denise? Michelle was like, sure. And so I called her immediately after that. She did not answer. And then I think she texted me like a couple days later and was like, I'm ready to talk now. And so that's when she came clean and was like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. He asked me to cover for him. And she kind of just laid it out there.
Oh my God, Michelle, you were being gaslit by so many
Oh,
different
so
people.
bad.
That is like diabolical.
And honestly, I even remember she's like, I'm ready to talk. Like, I told my producer, I was like, there's no way in hell she is going to tell me the truth here. Like, I thought it would be another like lie. So when she was like, yeah, he asked me to cover, I like almost fainted. I think like, I was like, I couldn't believe it. And so I was like, wow, I'm like, that's a girl's girl, like very impressive. Cause
Okay. Fine, Denise, you get 1 point. 1 point for
yeah,
Denise. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
I will give credit where credit is due.
Okay, fair. Do you believe in your heart that any of the other cast members and or crew members knew about David and Madison?
Um, no,
Okay.
I don't think so. So I think I told no one had brought up Madison ever to me. I think the first time I brought her up was right before we did the girls' sound bath. With Carla led the first one. I had called my producer that day and I said, and this is like after him and I had already in the car, he'd told me whatever. So I called my producer and I said, I have a really weird feeling and I'm probably gonna look crazy, but I think it's Madison. And she was like, okay, why do you think that? And I told her, like he was with her that night. Our names are similar. He probably has our last name stored as MAFS. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, that's what I think. And so, and then now once I brought that up to the producers, they never let it go. I mean, that was all we talked about from then on out. But like, no producer ever came to me originally being like, do you think it's Madison? But
Okay.
yeah, but once I said I thought it was, then that's all we talked about.
So it's kind of like lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
For
So in my mind, they once I brought it up, I think that's when they like went back to the footage and like started to like dig
I
through
would
some
be in
stuff.
there like,
Yeah. And
uh-huh.
that's in my mind, that's what happened. But no, they I initially brought that to them.
Okay. Okay. So you are a sleuth. You are a sleuth.
I mean, a little bit, but it's also like I think it came off like I didn't feel confident. And, like, I
Mhm.
even told Camille and MM that that's a crazy thing too, like, I talked about it so much that I thought it was Madison before I actually confronted Madison or David about it being Madison. Like, even that day when we did the sound baths, I pulled Camille and MM aside, like, we were sitting in a van together, we were still microphoned up, but there was no cameras around, but I just remember being like, "I'm gonna say something wild here." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I think it's Madison." And they were like, "You're insane." Like,
Okay.
"No, it's not." And I think that's why like their on-screen reaction wasn't as like, what? Because I had already been talking about it and like specific MM and I talked about it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense because I'm watching and I'm like, no one's that shocked. Nobody was like
Yeah. They had
shocked.
already known at that point.
Okay, got it. So you had
No, Carla,
conversation.
I never talked to it about with Carla at all.
She
So,
has,
and
I believe you both have great women's
yeah.
intuition.
But she was the one person who was very supportive, being like, if that's what your intuition's telling you, then you should go for it. Like she was the only like everyone else was like, you're batshit crazy, you're gonna look like a psycho, do
Don't
not
bring
do
it
it.
up. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And even like the day that we of the retreat, when I actually do confront them, like I had remember like Akechi came in with a divorce paper. And I was like, he looks really stupid. And then when like producers was like, you should confront Madison. Like, I think it's time. Like, you've been talking about this for weeks. I was like, they're gonna make me look stupid, just like Akechi looks
The
stupid. I was
fact
like,
you
I'm gonna
said
be the
paper singular has me dead.
yeah. I was like, I'm gonna be the next idiot at this retreat. Like, and that's like what I thought in my mind because nobody believed me. Like, I was kind of just being like, but then at that point, I was also like, I know I'm gonna look like an absolute like psycho bitch regardless. So I'm like, I might as well just lean right into it.
Okay, I have questions about the retreat, but I'm going to get there in just a second. So I'm
Okay.
going to hang out here for just a minute. Why not just be friends with David? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you discovered that he wasn't going to be a romantic partner. Why not just
Yeah.
be friends?
I think before the text, I that was the goal is
Okay.
like there was, I think like even the 1 month anniversary, we like filmed the terrible sushi dinner where I'm like, was that your date outfit? You know, and then but then like that ended bad. And then there was like we had like a 2 hour break before we had to film again. And so I remember I was like, we were just like, you want to go grab a beer across the street? And like we had a great time at that. You know what I mean? So it's like
Why
we
the sushi date? I had a question on it. I'm so glad you went there. Did something happen prior off camera? Like what was it that you were not about that sushi date? And I felt
yeah.
like I was like, "Oh, look at him." Trying to be cute, trying her little hobby or like her favorite food, and you were
Yeah.
just
Well, I also feel like when I was like, "Why sushi?" Like, I wasn't trying to be, like, mean about it. I was like he had told me multiple times he didn't like it, so I was like, "Oh, like, what made you wanna do this?" Like, that's in my mind how it came up, but, like, watching it back, I'm like, no, I was like, "Why sushi? Why would you wear that outfit?" Like,
Mhm.
I totally recognize that. But yeah, nothing had really happened. I think
Okay.
that day he was gone a lot during the day for like that. So like we like didn't get ready together. I think he like had the was at his parents' house for something. I think he took care of the dog. I don't even remember what it was, but yeah, so like we hadn't seen each other a lot that day until like I showed up. And I just remember like I was like, oh, I put like a lot of effort into like this date, you know what I mean? And then
You
he
were
was like,
a menace, Michelle, in that
yeah,
moment.
oh, that was a bad.
You were like Stacy and Clinton, what not to wear.
That was not my finer moment.
Okay, so that was one of the moments. Would you say that that was one of the moments that was hardest to watch for you, just that date in particular?
Yeah, that date and the whole honeymoon.
Fair, fair.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate and commend being self-aware, being able to laugh at yourself while also being able to be accountable.
Yeah.
Because I have heard you say that you don't condone treating David that way. You know, like that's not how you would typically treat
Yeah. He
somebody.
got a lot of my anger was taken out on him and like
Misdirected a little bit.
yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, moving forward because we only have a few minutes left
Yeah.
together. Do you think that David and Madison would have loved to not spill the beans at this retreat? Mhm.
They wanted this to never come out. Like I think they were waiting for us to wrap filming and then they were gonna get together. Yeah.
How did you feel when David gave the truth to Alan before you?
Well, at that point, I wasn't shocked by that
Hmm.
because that whole retreat, they were so dismissive of me. And I think at that point too, I was like, okay, I'm like a lone ranger here. I just got I'm on my own here. So like I'm gonna have to do everything on my own. Like I like didn't really care at that point too. Like I was like, whatever. Like it didn't shock me because he had been so dismissive of me that whole weekend.
Do you feel like the other cast members were more had more empathy for Alan and almost kind of treated it not like you pushed David to cheat on you, but
Yeah.
like there was reason for him to look outside the marriage?
Yeah.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you believe that there's ever a reason to look outside the marriage?
Without having a conversation first, no.
Okay. That's a good point because that's the reality. It's without having a conversation
Yeah, like,
first.
I think if both parties are wanting to do that, then you have a conversation about it, but we never had a conversation that was
I know we have limited time, but I did feel such empathy towards you and MM on this couples retreat
Mhm.
because you both were dealing with intense situations, both of
Yeah,
you. And it felt like there was little sensitivity surrounding that. And I get it. Nobody went to the couples retreat with the expectation for shit to just pop off. It was supposed to be a positive
yeah,
event, but I felt as if you both may have felt unsupported there.
yeah, which is yeah, I think we it was great though too because her and I went there together. Her and I shared a room that weekend, and so, like, her and I did have, like, lots of conversations off camera, which was, like, really nice.
Okay, good. You and MM, that means?
Yeah,
I
MM and I,
thought
like,
so.
yeah, like, we rode together there, we stayed in a room
Yes.
together there, we left together. So, like, it was nice, like, we were kinda like, "What a fucking weekend," you know? Like, remember when we left there, like, "What the hell just happened to us?"
I was so glad to see you 2 drive home together. You know, to
Yeah.
be a fly on the wall. Was it
Uh,
silent? Were you guys just
oh,
in
no, we were
shock?
Yeah, we were just like, "Can you fucking believe that?" Like, we were on one off, and it was like 2 in the morning. It was we filmed that day for like 14 hours,
Ugh.
that couples re it was brutal.
Whew, that's a lot. Do you still keep in contact with MM and support each other now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm like friends with almost everyone. I see Carla by far the most, and I became like closer with Carla now that filming's wrapped. We live a couple blocks from each other. We're both like single, so it just feels like we're more aligned now. But yeah, I definitely keep up with MM as well.
Okay, love that update. Do you believe that Madison and David actually shared their first kiss at the warehouse that night?
No, but I mean, I don't know that, but no,
I don't
no.
either. Okay. So you're still friends with Carla from the show. You're on good terms with most of the cast members.
Yeah.
Are you dating now?
I mean, I'm going on dates. Yes.
You're like, let me not say I'm single again because
Like,
I'm not going to get the
yeah.
rap.
I go on dates with someone consecutively, but I wouldn't say we're serious yet, or we may never be. I don't know. But yeah, I'm dating.
Is there anybody that you've eyed from past seasons of Married at First Sight that you're attracted to that's single?
Well, I haven't watched a lot of past seasons, so
Okay, fair.
I don't think I can answer
I
that.
don't know why, but I just kind of assumed that everybody would message you who's single and just be like, "Hey, Michelle, just watched you on
Yeah.
the
I mean,
season."
so there have been people who have, but I won't say
Okay.
who.
Okay, love that. Love that
Yeah.
tea. Let me read you a couple of questions that viewers wrote in. I wanted to
Okay.
end here. Some of them made me laugh really hard. So, Haler Moon wanted to know who is the real Zodiac killer? What happened to John Benet Ramsey? Where's Jimmy Hoffa? That gal has unreal detective instincts. May as well put them to use.
My God, well, so it's so funny. Like I love true crime. Like my Friday nights watch Dateline. Like
Love
I
it.
love that stuff. I actually was a criminal justice major, was one of my majors in college. So like I love that stuff. I was a paralegal at a law firm,
Okay, Nancy
years
Drew,
ago.
love this.
Right. Yes. Like I love that stuff. Like, no, I would love to know who killed John Bonet.
We won't even get into that, or we'll go
No.
off on a tangent. Sashi Bell wants to know, do you have any residual anger towards any of the contestants?
No.
Love
No.
that.
I
And
think I did in the beginning, but it's been a year plus now, so no.
and then everybody, and I mean everybody, wanted to know, Michelle, what are you doing in the gym? How do you look so good?
Yeah.
Can you tell us something?
Yeah, I was always, I think that's the other thing too. Like people think I like didn't work out because I wasn't joining David. I just like really like group fitness classes. We lived in that apartment was in the South Loop, which is right next to the lake path, which is like gorgeous in Chicago if you don't know. But there's like a huge path that like is right on the lake. And so I would get up like every morning and run like 4 miles on the lake path. Like I was like, I've always been like an active person, but I think like once you see yourself on camera, you're really hard on yourself. Like so I think like I kind of saw myself and I was like, oh, I don't like how I look. And so I just kicked it into high gear. Like I would probably work out like 4 times a week in the past. Now I probably work out every day.
You looked amazing then. So let's be
Thank
clear. You
you.
look amazing now. Well, thank you so much. I couldn't be more grateful for you answering all of the questions I had. I hope you feel like you got to share your side of the experience. Is there anything that you'd like to end with that I missed?
No, I feel like we covered a lot. This was really fun. Like it's gonna be sad when I don't get to talk about this anymore, you know?
Percent. I hear that. Well, I'm excited to keep up with you. I definitely will. I'm trying to plan something with Carla to come to Chicago.
Ooh,
So
yes.
I would love
When?
to do, I have no idea when, but like we're trying to plan something.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can cut my hair. If you're
Yep.
there, whatever, you can do my makeup. Maybe we'll all get
Yeah.
high and just do stuff to
I was like,
me.
all those things sound great to me. I'm in. Say when.
Okay, perfect. Love it. I had so much fun chatting with you. Where can everybody
Same.
follow you to give you support?
Yeah. I'm MD Tomlin on Instagram.
Yay, everybody go
Yeah.
follow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. You too. Yeah.